I mean, I really love how floppy it is. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I haven't read that one either. Why am I so bad at this? I think I just decided to give up. Not on life, but just on that book. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Leandra the TBR Zero, and this is my Self-Destruct TBR for 2025. I really can't believe that we're already here, and what I plan on doing in this video is giving you my 10 books that I've chosen. So if I don't read these by December of 2025, then I have to remove them from my shelves unread, and that's it. What I'm also going to do in this video is go back and look at my initial self-destruct video for 2024. So I recorded and posted that last November. And my idea for this is that I'm going to obviously react, see how many books I've actually read. I'm nervous that I've read none because I actually can't really remember what's on that list. And I really wanted to make sure I was surprised. So I didn't peek. I have no idea what I actually said last year. And I'm going to take that stack and consider, okay, I have about a month to read these books before they're gone, because I do need to read them in December. And then as soon as January 1st, 2025 comes around, what I don't read, I do need to unhaul. Or if I don't read these books by January 1st and I'm determined to keep them on my shelves, and that means I have to replace them. I have to unhaul a different book in their place. And that ensures that I'm still unhauling something. I'm still getting punished. But I don't really want to do that either, because there's a reason why I put these books on my unhaul list and not XYZ. So, you know, the pressure is on. The first book that I want to potentially unhaul in 2025, if I don't get to this, is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Parents, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry, because this was a book they gifted me for my birthday this past September, and I think it's so funny. Everyone that I told that my parents bought this for me for my birthday, they are cackling, specifically Rainy Blue Reads. I can see you right now, and you are just like laughing off your chair, because this is a romantasy, and I don't read romantasy. I will give my dad credit, because he was really nervous about this purchase, and he was like, hey, there is a gift receipt. If you need to replace it, please do, because he was nervous about the romance. He was also nervous about how thick this is, because he knows that I do not like books with booty. And so I just found that really funny. Whereas my mom, you know, she was convinced by the bookseller, because the bookseller, of course, I'm sure really loved this book. And also she's like, it's got dragons. Leandra's gonna want to read this, right? Meanwhile, I talked to Danny not long ago, and I realized I don't think I've ever read a book with dragons before. I think the only book I can think of that has dragons in it was Amari and the Night Brothers, and that had a were-dragon. So I don't know where my mom was thinking, but I'm also really appreciative that they bought this for me, because I know that there would be no other reason or motivation for me to buy it for myself, even though I am intrigued. I do want to see where the hype came from back when this came out, and I know that the third book is coming out at some point. I should look into that, because maybe I can read it in tandem while people are getting hyped about the third book. And I think what could be really fun is doing an all spoiler vlog in which I just let loose and give every single thought I have as I read this. I feel like that could be really fun and entertaining, and I don't see many books allowing me to do an all spoiler vlog, because a lot of them aren't as widely read, whereas this one's been read by so many people. I think I can do it. So yeah, parents, I'm so sorry. Mom, dad, I promise I am going to make every effort to read this in 2025. Next on this list is a book I bought secondhand. You can kind of see the yellowing pages. And I was buying this during a time when I was going to a bunch of library sales. Woo, support your library. And I was picking up any book that had an award on the front. So this one says it was the winner of the Booker Prize when it came out. And it's True History of the Kelly Gang by Peter Carey. This person I've been meaning to read for quite some time. And I know that a lot of people talk about this title in particular, but I'm also not someone who really reads literary works anymore. I'm more into my genre fiction era, so give me a sci-fi, give me a mystery, a fantasy, a horror. Ugh! Hold the phone. Put your phone down for a second. Unless you are watching this on your phone, then please keep watching on your phone. Do not put that down. To his pursuers, Kelly is nothing but a monstrous criminal, a thief, and a murderer. To his own people, the lowly class of ordinary Australians, the bushranger is a hero, defying the authority of the English to direct their lives. I get why I'm intrigued by it, but I don't know. I'm really nervous about this one. I feel like by putting this on the list, I'm just saying I'm going to unhaul this next year, which is kind of sad, but like, let me know in the comments if you really enjoy this book, or if it's on your list as well. We could always do a buddy read, because that that could be my saving grace, is actually getting people to read these books with me in 2025. The third book on this list is going to be The End of October by Lawrence Wright. This one I remember I bought during the pandemic, which is kind of crazy because it's about a pandemic. I wonder why I haven't read it. And it's definitely like a sci-fi thriller, dystopian, post-apocalyptic kind of narrative. It also goes across different continents, different countries, kind of figuring out how people are dealing with it. So I feel like I've got enough distance from COVID-19 to now, feel as though I can read this. And by distance, I mean from the major waves we were experiencing back in 2020, 2021. COVID-19 hasn't gone anywhere. And so I'm intrigued by this, but I also know for a fact that it's just been sitting on my shelves. I put it on a TBR before. I remember actually last February during Battle of the Girl Bands, I put this on my TBR, or at least as a potential TBR book, and didn't even look at it. The fourth book I'm adding to my self-destruct list is Bleeding Heart Yard by Ellie Griffiths. I've actually never read anything by Ellie Griffiths before, and you can see by the yellow tab, it was gifted to me by the publisher. So thank you so much for gifting this to me. It's just that I've never really wanted to pick it up, mainly because I know it's part of a series. You likely can read them out of order. Let me know in the comments if you can't, but I'm just so hesitant, and I really shouldn't have said yes to having them send me this book before doing my research. So it is on me. I'm so sorry to the publisher, to Ellie Griffiths, for not doing my due diligence before I said yes to getting this finished copy. It's very short. I love the idea of it being set, when Cassie Fitzgerald was at school in the late 1990s, she and her friends killed a fellow student. Almost 20 years later, Cassie is a happily married mother who loves her job. As a police officer, she closely guards the secret she has all but erased from her memory. Whoa! Maybe I just need to read the synopses of these books. Maybe that'll motivate me if I actually just know what these books are about. I'm most hesitant because I know that this is part of a series, but it could be a series of standalones. At least I think it's a part of a series. I don't know. Okay, well, I'll do more research to see what's going on with this. Number 5, I'm already halfway there. I am thinking about unhauling Ken Follett's 10 Pillars of the Earth, just because it's so chunky and it's historical, and I don't know why I have it. I really love how floppy it is. Oh my gosh. I might just keep this for that. Whenever I'm feeling down, I'll just pull this book out and start flopping it around. Oh, that's really nice. I know of friends who've DNF'd it. I also know of friends who've really loved Ken Follett. So it's something I will be tossing up in the air and just seeing what happens. But I just don't know why I'm owning it if it's something I know for a fact I don't want to read. Another book I am adding to my self-destruct for 2025 is The Water Knife. Now this one, I'm hoping it'll motivate me to at least try this book, because this is a sci-fi mystery. It's a bit more noir in its design and its tone, and I'm a little bit worried about that. I do like detective fiction noir. I've kind of learned to appreciate it and know which authors, which titles to actually pick up and which ones to just avoid because they haven't aged very well. This one's post-apocalyptic and it's set in Colorado. I also know that it has a lot of climate fiction commentary, so we'll have discussions of environmentalism, of the climate crisis, but I'm worried about the content warnings. There have been some content warnings that I saw on Storygraph that have made me how explicit is this? Because I don't know if I want to expose myself to that. So I'm thinking about it, but I'm more worried that it's going to be a book that I just want to try and then, end up DNFing early on. And it's well, then what's the point of that? The next book I'm adding to my self-destruct list is going to be The Black Prince by Iris Murdoch. I really want to try this book, and it was very serendipitous for why it's even on my list. I went with a friend while I was still living up in upstate New York, Rochester, to the secondhand shop. The gentleman was so nice who ran it, and he just was like, hey, you look like someone who would want to read this book. He wasn't talking to me. He was talking to my friend who predominantly reads YA fantasy and other fantastical things. And I was like, she is not the person who would ever read a classic. And so to be nice, she took it and then she was like, do you want this? And I was like, I'll take it. So I now own this book and I literally haven't thought about it since that day. I kind of like the anecdote. I like the story that comes behind why I have this title, because it's very silly, and the man meant well, but it's just neither one of us is the right person. So yeah, I want to try it, but I am also worried that this is just going to be a book that I continue to ignore for a year. I am also adding Kurt Vonnegut's Cat's Cradle to this list. I had to mix it up. Yes, there are some titles that I'm putting on mainly because I don't think about them ever and I kind of forget I own them. But then there are ones where I keep staring at them and I'm like, Leandra, staring at them isn't reading. Like, you actually need to open the book or at least download an audiobook so you can read this. And so I have decided to add Cat's Cradle on the list. I read one book by Kurt Vonnegut before, which was his most popular book, Slaughterhouse-Five, that's what it is. I read that one a handful of years ago and I did like it at the time. I thought it was a good amount of weird for me, but at the same time I've never felt interest in reading him again, just because I don't know if he's really an author I enjoy. He's an author I appreciate. So with this, I'm kind of not sure how I'm gonna feel about it, if I'm even gonna care. I feel like I'm gonna care, I'm just not gonna love it. The second to last book that I am adding to my self-destruct list is going to be In Country by Bobby Ann Mason. This is an author that I've really appreciated in short form. I actually was introduced to her while I was getting my master's degree in humanities. She was an author we covered and I really appreciated how she threw in self-aware commentary on our relationship with technology, with entertainment, and using entertainment as a way to create metaphors and criticism about the world around us. I've never read anything by her that's long form, but this is a title that a lot of people attribute to her and appreciate the most. So when I saw it at a secondhand shop the last time I was kind of perusing a few years ago, again back in Rochester, I was like, I need to buy this. So now I need to read it. And I kind of like the, I don't know, simplicity of the cover. It's very of its time. Let me see when it actually was published, this one edition. Okay, all it's saying about this edition is that it was originally published in 1985 and the events take place in 1984. I know that it has a huge emphasis on the Vietnam War, discussions about it, and the aftermath of people's lives. So I want to read it. I just don't know because I'm not really a literary fiction person anymore. And finally, the last book I am adding to my self-destruct list is going to be The Map of Salt and Stars. This one was another spontaneous read. I actually remember hearing about it on a podcast. It was a podcast all about recommending books to listeners who would kind of call in, give a book that they kind of want to read, or at least the type of book they want to read, and then the host would sift through everything she knows and be like, hey, this book sounds like it's perfect for you. And this one was mentioned, and just the cover, the description really fascinated me at the time. And so the last time I was at a library book sale, and it was a really great library that had a bunch of patrons who would simply go to a bookstore, Barnes & Noble, buy a brand new book and donate it for the sale. So you had some really lovely, brand new or new editions floating around this book sale. So, I was fighting for my life. I was grabbing every single book I could that I recognized at the time, and this was one of them. And yeah, it's a brand new copy. It really is. There's nothing that suggests it had ever been read when I bought this at the library sale, and yet here we are. I've kept it on my shelves, and yeah, what am I doing? What am I doing? Why haven't I read it? And if I'm not going to read it, then I really should just unhaul it and give it to someone who actually will appreciate it. All right, those are my 10 books that I am adding to my self-destruct list for 2025. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm actually going to read any of them. Which ones should I just say, nope, might as well call it quits right now? Which ones should I prioritize? And also stay. Do not go anywhere, because I'm now going to go react to my 2024 list and see just how many I literally haven't even touched. All right, so I've got the video queued up and I have no idea what's in store. I can't remember what books I've even put on here, so let's see what they are. Our main character, of course, is an orphan. Her parents were murdered. Honestly, I'm not the only girl who once in a while likes to book with a booty. People see him as, a thief, a murderer, just this very bad type. No! I already know for a fact that I've reused a book that I completely forgot was on my self-destruct. What do I do? Oh God, okay. I may have to do a bit of a switcheroo, because clearly I was thinking about unhauling this book last year, and now I automatically grabbed it this year, and past Leandra. I shouldn't actually, past Leandra, I shouldn't be criticizing you. More so present Leandra. Why do I have a terrible memory? Also, oh my gosh, my hair. My hair was so long, and I distinctly remember being like, should I even record today? Because it was super frizzy. It had been days since I washed it, hence why it's straight. Anyway, oh, you know, we're not critiquing past Leandra. There's a lot to react here. The first book on this list is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This originally came out in 2018 and is the first in the Folk of the Air series. I have not picked up that book. I didn't read it, and I already unhauled it. Actually, I sold it on Pango Books. Someone else is going to enjoy it. Okay, well, don't have to worry about that one. Second book on this list is 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. This was published in 2009. It is translated from the original Japanese, and this isn't going to be the first time I've read Haruki Murakami. There was a time when I was obsessed with him. Yeah, that's true. I actually have a lot of books still on my shelves that are by him that I really loved. They're also far shorter. Let me grab that book. Wait a second, where the heck is that book? I have it. I haven't read it. And this is, oh my gosh, it's over 1,000 pages. Oh my gosh. Also, really lovely flop. All right, well, we're adding this as the first book to consider reading before I unhaul it. Let's continue and see what else I forgot about. Speaking of books with booty, I also have White Teeth by Zadie Smith. So I have a very strange relationship with Zadie Smith because I have read her before as well. However, that relationship compared to Murakami has just been bad. I only read On Beauty by her, and honestly, I really disliked that book. It's true, yeah. So I read On Beauty actually while I was teaching in Belgium. I had to do it for a unit. It wasn't my choice. It was literally on the syllabus, and I had to teach it to my class because I didn't get to choose the syllabus because I was a teaching assistant at the time, and I really did not like that book. It was great for discussion, but I really didn't like it, and it really freaking frustrated me. And then a friend of mine said, no, I really hated that book too, but I loved White Teeth because that was their first experience. And I ended up buying it for $1 or $2 at like a library sale. Let me grab my kind of like dingy copy. What's hilarious is I found this right where I found this one. So clearly out of sight, out of mind, in the back, like it's not even on screen. It's that little like pile of books there. Oh gosh. Anyway, yeah, so this is kind of just like a very well-loved, well-used copy, but it's really terrible how when you have one bad experience with an author, you lose so much trust and you don't want to read them again, especially because this is a chunkier book. So the idea of me dedicating nearly 500 pages to trying this author, I just don't want to do it. What I can do is maybe do like try a chapter with these and see what I'm interested in. But yeah, 2 books that I haven't read out of 3. And one of them I already unhauled. So technically 3 out of 3 I haven't read. Good job. Good job, past Leandra. The 4th book on this list is The Monsters of Templeton by Lauren Groff. Now I'm assuming this one's probably not a title that you associate with Lauren Groff, but there's many others. Arcadia's one that I read that I absolutely adored. And yet, I haven't read that book either. And I know, I do actually remember going about this. I own not only The Monsters of Templeton, but I also own Fates and Furies. I also own Florida. And my goal was to at least read 1 book by Lauren Groff this year so I could slowly chip away at the titles I've just been collecting. Oh gosh, let me grab that book. Here we go. There it is. I mean, it's a really cool cover. Honestly, it looks really interesting. I do really want to read this. I really want to read this book, but I haven't made any effort to read it. I don't want to unhaul it before I read it. And that's the first one that we've gotten to that I can say I'm really desperate to read this because the last thing I want to do is unhaul it. So again, just a reminder, I haven't read any of the books mentioned, 4 so far, and I've already unhauled one of them. And book number 5 is What Once Was Mine. This is part of the Twisted Tales YA fantasy fairy tale retelling series, and I've never read any of them. I haven't read that one either, but I don't know where it is. So 1 second. Okay, this book also came from the same area. This shelf right here, you can see my manga. I just kind of reorganized it, so I put my have read manga up there, but down below and above are all read books that I need to read. And so yeah, I found this in the same section. Haven't read it. And you know what's pretty sad is I know for a fact that I think it was Laura's Bookish Life invited me to buddy read this with her, and I just never really got back to her about it. Oh gosh. I think what ended up turning me off was some discussions about it from Neva. Reading with Neva, I think she liked it, but for some reason I was like, maybe it isn't a book for me. I know it's YA too, however, I'm pretty sure in the UK, like in other countries, it's actually shelved as middle grade, which is interesting, but I haven't been gravitating towards that, which is, yeah. Next, we're going a bit more classic, a bit more literary fiction, and that is Empire Falls by Richard Russo. I haven't read anything by Richard Russo, but he did win the Pulitzer Prize for this specific title. So this is the one that I mixed up with the Kelly Gang, because I thought about putting this book on my Self-Destruct for 2025, and I was like, no, Leandra, I'm pretty sure you put that on for 2024, so maybe you should choose another like prize-winning book, and that's why I went with the Kelly Gang, not knowing I'd put both of them on my Self-Destruct list. What are we doing? Let me grab that one now. All right, this one was on my TBR cart of all things too, so nope, haven't read it, haven't had any interest in reading it, to be honest. Cements his reputation as one of America's most compelling and compassionate storytellers. All right, book 7 on this list is Tana French's In the Woods. I bought this one after I heard her on an interview with a podcast once, and it was really thoughtful. I read that. In fact, I read a lot of Tana French this year. A lot for me, at least. I read In the Woods. Didn't really like it very much. I gave it like a 3.5 because I saw potential in the writing. And it's actually thanks to Coda and Nicole, because Coda reached out being like, hey, like watching this video actually was like, I'll read that book with you. And then Nicole got to join us, and the three of us read it for January actually during TBR-a-thon, and that was really fun. I really enjoyed the experience of reading it with them, but like the book kind of let me down in the end. Since then, I read 2 more books by Tana French, and I plan on reading The Hunter soon. So this, yeah, good job. This shows that, you know, the Self-Destruct works when you actually read the books. I will say I have unhauled that book since. I donated it to my library because I just didn't like it very much. So yeah, people at my local library can borrow it when they want to read it. All right, this next one's a bit tricky because I think I'm gonna have to reread a book in order to fully enjoy this one, and maybe that's why I've been hesitant to read it up until this point, and that is The Story of a New Name. This is by Elena Ferrante. It's a part of the Neapolitan novels series. It's translated from Italian. The first book is My Brilliant Friend. I read that a few years ago and I did absolutely adore it. It's historical fiction. It's set in I did love My Brilliant Friend, and I do have that sequel still. I haven't read it. This particular book was in a bag of books because I don't really know what else to do with them, and I don't have room on my shelves. So that just shows you how much of a priority I made this specific title. I haven't read it. I've not been in any type of mood for historical fiction in its own form. Like, I have been really into historical fantasy, historical mystery this year, but historical fiction on its own just really hasn't been gravitating towards me. And I'm really sad because I really did love My Brilliant Friend when I read it, but I don't know if it would be something that I'm invested in right now. Book number 9 is one of my newest titles that I own, that also is one of the newest titles published. It's only beaten out by What Once Was Mine because that one was published back in 2021. But this one, published in 2020, was Plain Bad Heroines. I haven't read that, although I plan to start it this week. You can see the number of books that I haven't read have officially expanded on my lap so high that you can see it. You can see the most recent book here, and that is Plain Bad Heroines. It is true, this is really chunky actually. It's like 600, it's about 600 pages. I did just borrow the audiobook for this one, so I promise you my intention was to read this soon. I distinctly remember Julie from Keep Calm with Books and Coffee commenting on this video saying, oh, I really hope you don't, unhaul it because I really love that book and I'd love to have you give it a try. So I'm definitely gonna give this one a try, and I promise I was planning on reading it this week. Book 10 is Inland by Taya Obrecht. I haven't read that book, but I feel like I may have unhauled it already because I think I just decided to give up. Not on life, but just on that book. Yeah, I just checked. I've unhauled it officially, so never mind about that one. This next one is probably gonna pain me if I don't actually read it in 2024 because I'll have to give it away, and that is Warlock Holmes, A Study in Brimstone. Yeah, so this one I still haven't read, but I am reading it this year because I have a vlog dedicated to my subscribers when I hit 2,500, and I know it's been a while, but remember when you guys ended up voting? Was it for 2,500 or was it for 2,000? Uh-oh, that means it's been a little while. I promise the vlog is coming out. You guys voted on 3 titles. The ones I'm gonna read is Warlock Holmes, The Princess Bride, as well as The Snow Child. If the camera shifted just a little bit, it's because I literally knocked into it as I was walking, so sorry friends. Yep, I've got Warlock Holmes right here. I still really want to read it. And right next to it, as I promised, I've got The Snow Child and I have The Princess Bride. So all 3 of these I've been keeping together because I will be reading all 3 of them in a vlog. So stay tuned for that. Now, number 12 is actually super obscure, and it's not to say, oh, look at me finding all of these weird books, but I definitely found it on a whim and just bought it very randomly, and I haven't seen anyone talk about it. I think it only has a few thousand reviews on Goodreads, and so that's partially why I haven't really been prioritizing it, because I haven't seen people talk about it and it hasn't interested me. But it's called The Afterlives, and I really want to force my— yeah, I haven't read that one either. Why am I so bad at this? It's okay, Leandra, you know what? I blame the fact that this is my first time ever doing a self-destruct video, so maybe I'll be better this second time around. But yeah, still haven't read The Afterlives, still want to read it. I like the idea of this being a bit of sci-fi, and oh my gosh, I probably mentioned this in the video, but I paused it, so we may never know. It says that Emily St. John Mandel and Amity Gage have both appreciated this book. They both did a blurb, and I've read books by both of these authors. I love Emily St. John Mandel, so yeah, I need to read this so I don't unhaul it. I'm realizing I don't even know how many books I put on this self-destruct. I did 10, but I've obviously done more than 12. I was really ambitious, apparently. 13 is The True History of the Kelly Gang by Peter Carey. This is another kind of modern classic. I'm so angry that I chose a book that I had on my list from last year. That is so annoying and just proves that, like, clearly this book is one that I'm really not interested in reading. So what I might do is, obviously I'm going to keep this associated with last year's list, and I'm going to have to choose another one. So I'm going to do that very quickly. Okay, I just grabbed a book that was literally at the top of a pile within that bag of books, so we're just gonna go with it because why not? The video must go on. I'm doing Memoirs of a Polar Bear. This is a translation, one that I actually distinctly remember buying when I went to Philadelphia, met up with a friend. She lived in New York at the time, and we're like, oh, let's meet halfway. So we met in Philadelphia. It was a really fun weekend. We did a bit of like bookshop hopping. We went to 3 or 4 bookshops within this one vicinity of Philadelphia, and it was really fun. And this was one that I bought. It looked really interesting. I've been meaning to read more translations just because I love translations, and there was a time when I was prioritizing them, and in the last couple of years I haven't, but it does look really good. It says, Memoirs of a Polar Bear stars 3 generations of talented writers and performers, famous stars of the literary world, the circus, and the zoo. They happen to be polar bears who move in human society. In part 1, the matriarch, enjoying the intimacy of being alone with my pen, accidentally writes a best-selling autobiography in the Soviet Union. In part 2, her daughter Tosca moves to East Germany and pioneers a thrilling circus act. And Tosca's son, the last of their line, is Knut, born in part 3 and raised by a human keeper in relatively happy circumstances in the Berlin Zoo. Oh, I feel like this is going to end up being kind of sad. Okay, it's on the list. We're doing it. Also, I really love the cover. The second to last book on this list is another obscure one. It is called All the World's a Grave. This is by John Reed, and I DNF'd it. Woohoo! I ended up reading that, I think it was in January or February, and I pretty much read it knowing that I was probably going to DNF it. Got like 30 pages in, and I was like, yep, okay, we're good. I'm done. And so I DNF'd it, and I'm so happy that I can say that I've read another book, or at least tried to read another book, and yeah, it's gone already. The 15th book on this self-destruct list is The Philosopher's Flight. This is by Tom Miller. I did get it way back in the day when I was a Book of the Month subscriber. On the back of my book, it does say February 2018. Yeah, it's really crazy to think about how many Book of the Month books that I've actually just had hanging around for years, because I haven't been a member for so many years at this point, so it's really silly to even keep owning them. That one I have unhauled. Didn't even read it, unhauled it. Yeah, no, just realized I wasn't really interested in it. So there we are. All right, those are the 15 books that are on my self-destruct TBR for 2024. I'm really excited, especially because either way it's going to be a win. I'm either going to relieve my shelves of 15 books because I didn't read them, or I'll actually be trying them, and hopefully, whatever the outcome is, I'll be finding amazing books that I'm so glad I finally read, or books that, yeah, there was a reason why I didn't read them any sooner, so glad that the case is closed on that one. I was so optimistic. Oh, little Leandra from last year. Oh my gosh, there's so many in my lap. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I had 15 books on my self-destruct list. I've unhauled 5 of them. 3 was because I just didn't even want to try them, unhauled them, we're done. 1 I DNF'd and unhauled, and 1 I actually read and then unhauled, giving to my library, just because I didn't love it that much to keep it. And now we've got 10 that I need to try, read, save, do something. So there will likely be like a vlog where I, at least try a chapter for all of these, sift through which ones am I going to read, which ones am I going to unhaul, which ones am I going to save, and have to unhaul a random book in its place. So yeah, we'll see what happens to all of these books. Oh gosh. So if you couldn't tell, I have absolutely no hope for this next list because I did horrible this past year. And I'm really excited still to see what ends up happening. I think that having 1 year under my belt of trying this self-destruct TBR is going to work in my favor because I'm a bit more motivated. I'm a bit more aware of my faults, what I did wrong, what I should have been doing throughout the year, maybe doing a few check-ins, trying to remember if I read those books or not. This is also a year where I've been so reliant on the library, and I've been really determined to read the books I buy in 2024, so those have taken precedent. I've really only read maybe a dozen or so books from my physical TBR because 80% has come from the library and another 10 has come from my purchased books of 2024. So it makes sense. It's just kind of baffling when I didn't even realize the books I had on this. So oops. Thanks everyone for getting to the end. Let me know in the comments if there are any books from my newest self-destruct TBR list for 2025 or the one I did for this year that you're like, Leandra, do everything in your power to save this book because it's so good, because I really want you to read it. It's one of my favorites. And likewise, let me know if there are any books that you're like, just forget it. just unhaul it right now, because I will take all of your comments into consideration. And if you've been here, to the end and you've just been kind of lurking, watching, laughing at the chaos and how bad I am at this challenge, then feel free to leave an emoji in the comments. What emoji should I be telling you to put in? How about a ghost emoji? Because this self-destruct TBR from this year is going to haunt me for quite some time. If you did actually want to watch the entirety of my video from my self-destruct of last year, I'll be sure to have it linked below. But if you're interested in, newer content from me, I had a really thoughtful discussion about predictability in books and whether it can be a good or bad thing depending on your perspective. I'll have that up here for you to check out. And yeah, thanks for being here. Thank you to my Manor guests. I really love you guys, and I hope to see everybody in the next one. Bye.